My name is Amit and Rele. I'm a product manager here at NETGEAR working on Orbi.
My name is Arun Kulathumony. I'm a product manager at NETGEAR for the Connected Home Group.
So we're here to kind of go over everything that we're planning on introducing, going to introduce, have introduced in the last few weeks about Orbi. A lot has changed. As you know, Orbi was introduced about 3 years ago, and since then we've sold a whole lot of Orbi systems out there, and we've done it because it solved a real customer problem, which is connectivity within the house, right? And we've done it in a very unique way.
Absolutely. So as the number of devices that keeps growing in the home, you have your smart home that's becoming even more smarter. You actually need the best Wi-Fi connectivity to reach the entire home with the speeds that you pay for. So that's the challenge that the Orbi product line itself solves. And we have quite a few interesting things to talk about today. So we are really interested to hear about what you have to comment. So please do share your questions, your thoughts, and comments. And we are live on Facebook and Twitter.
And YouTube. So yes, absolutely. Let's make this an interactive event. If you've got questions, comments, feel free to drop us a line. We'll do our best to answer all of them. But really, and let's take a step back and say, okay, what is the problem that most people are having, and what are some of the trends? As Arun mentioned, the number of devices in your house have grown dramatically in the last several years. And you know what? I'll bet you that you probably have more devices in your house than you even know. And a lot of this is happening because a lot of people are cutting the cord. They're trying to, streaming music. They're streaming videos. They're uploading pictures. And at the end of the day, you don't want to have to move from where you are in order to get that great connectivity. You've already paid you paid a lot of money into your service provider to get these wireless speeds, but just having the wireless speeds in one part of your house just isn't good enough. You want to be able to be in your bedroom or in your study, maybe even in your backyard, and you want to be able to engage all this awesome content that's available online. And that's really what we've done. We've released a ton of products in the last 3 years, and even more in the last month or two.
Yeah, it's been quite exciting, to introduce all these different products. It's not just about having just a single product to be able to fulfill the needs of every customer, right? Each of us have different needs. So like it could be varying all the way from, as you mentioned, music streaming or video streaming, or even conference calls that somebody who might be working from home, those kind of events. So everybody has different needs. So for each of the customer, which is a different profile, we actually have a solution that you can actually try to address a problem with.
Absolutely. We're not a company that believes in one cookie cutter solution. Okay, this is it. This is what you get. We want to try to have a variety of products for our customers because everyone's different and everyone has slightly different needs in terms of where they live, in terms of how big their house is, and number of stories, and which part of the world, indoor, outdoor, cable modem built in, voice assistant built in, things like that. So we've got a wide variety of products out there.
And for folks who are actually tuned in, please do go to netgear.com. We have our online store there, and we have an offer that's going on, which is a $50 off on the Orbi Voice, our Orbi Voice satellite. That is about 25% off. You have to enter the promo code VOICE to get that offer. So please do tune in now and take advantage of this offer.
Absolutely. This is a special offer just during this promotion here. So let's get started. Let's start off with Wi-Fi 6. What is Wi-Fi 6? Wi-Fi 6 is a new protocol that just got ratified a few months ago. And the reason why Wi-Fi 6 was introduced was because it had to do with, addresses three problems. Number one, it of course makes Wi-Fi faster for everyone that has it. Number two, it's used to, it really helps when you have a lot of devices in your house and a lot of networks in your house. So let's say that you live in an area of the world or you live somewhere and you've got like 30 or 40 different networks. It could be your neighbor's network, it could be something else. Wi-Fi 6 really helps congestion and it makes your overall speeds faster. So in order to solve that problem, we realized that, okay, we needed to do a hardware change because, of course, Wi-Fi 6 has a whole new set of chipsets and things like that. So this is our second generation of Orbi. Let me show off the product here for y'all here. Here is the new product. We announced this, I want to say, in September, and it's now available for purchase at your favorite retailer.
Yes, and I just wanted to point out a couple of other things about Orbi Wi-Fi 6, or generally Wi-Fi 6, is that we talked about a little bit about the problem that you're trying to solve. The more number of devices that you have, not all of them are going to consume Wi-Fi or internet in the same way. Your faster devices like your HD media player or your TVs need really larger bandwidth, whereas your smart home devices like your smart plugs or your cameras don't need to connect and consume the same kind of bandwidth at the same time. So the device consumption for the bandwidth and the speed is actually very different. So the profile is going to be different for each of these different devices. And that's where Wi-Fi 6 is actually going to make a difference.
And the cool thing about Wi-Fi 6 is obviously it's backward compatible to the previous generations of Wi-Fi. Now, this might be a little bit confusing, but older generations of Wi-Fi are named anything from like B, G, N, and the last one is 11AC. 11AC was really quite a mouthful. I don't know too many people who go around calling it 11AC.
Wi-Fi 6, when it came up, actually it was called 11AX.
Exactly.
And I think people slowly understood that that's going to be a really technical jargon and people may not understand it. So I'm glad that the word Wi-Fi 6 was coined up to understand that this is the 6th generation of Wi-Fi, and this is going to be backward compatible with all the previous generation of Wi-Fi.
Exactly. And so the thing that you have to know is Wi-Fi 6 is faster than Wi-Fi 5, also known as 11AC, which is faster than everything else before that. So this is sort of the latest and greatest Wi-Fi. It's almost like 4G and 5G in the cellular world. So the other point that I'd like to make here is that 11AC or Wi-Fi 5 was actually introduced into the world before even things like the Alexa, the Amazon Echo Dot were out. So when you think about that, that was about 7 or 8 years ago, and obviously it has matured and has aged, and it's been out there, but it didn't really address all the problems that we're expected to deal with in the next 5 or 6 years, which is one of the reasons that we came up with this product here.
Yes, and it's also ironic that yesterday Disney announced their Disney Plus service, and there was like 10 million customers or something signed up. So that's actually critical because the number of people who are using internet for consuming their media is actually growing tremendously, and especially in a market like US, that's like a growth path. So if you don't have really reliable Wi-Fi, if you don't have fast Wi-Fi, nobody is going to really, or maybe there are some cases, but majority of the households will have multiple devices streaming at the same time. How do you solve that problem? You have to scale your Wi-Fi. You have to be able to add the capacity onto your Wi-Fi and not just rely on just the matter of getting higher speeds. You also need to ensure that the same bandwidth can be shared across these devices, and that's where Wi-Fi 6 is really solving that challenge.
Absolutely. And what is the challenge? The challenge is that, like most protocols, you've got a router somewhere in your house. Now in many cases, you don't have much of an option as to where you put that because that's where your service provider drops it off. The problem ends up being is that you need coverage and speed somewhere else. It might be a bedroom, it might be a kitchen, it might be a study, and whatever have you. So the problem that mesh systems like the Orbi solve is that it provides speeds and coverage everywhere in your house. And the way that Orbi does it that's different than everything else is that it creates a wireless band that's dedicated just for communication between the different Orbi.
Amit, do you want to share a couple more details about Orbi Wi-Fi 6 itself from the spec point of view? I think that would be interesting to talk about.
Absolutely. So Orbi Wi-Fi 6 is also, the speed rating on that is 6 gigabits per second, out of which 2 gigabits are dedicated for talking between the Orbi, and the other is dedicated to end devices like your iPhones and things like that. So you get these devices talking to your Orbi router or satellite, and then the fat pipe takes it back from the satellite to your router into the internet.
So that's the other part, right? So when you have really a fat pipe that's talking to each other, which is dedicated between the router and satellite, you no longer have to worry about your devices sharing that bandwidth. Your devices are on a separate. Imagine this like you have your the traffic that's going on. So you have your 4-lane highway, right here in the Bay Area. If you look at 880 or 101, it's always crowded. Imagine that you can actually create another 4-lane highway that can help to get the same passengers onto the same direction. How is that going to help you? So that's how we are talking about Wi-Fi 6 from the scale aspect of it. It's not just about an incremental technology, but it's more like doubling your speed, doubling your bandwidth, and also being able to provide that additional capacity. I also want to talk about, it's a mouthful term that's called OFDMA, which is orthogonal frequency division multiplexing, but most of them don't really care about it. That's a technology that's powering the Wi-Fi 6, and it's very similar to how cellular operates in the latest 4G and 5G technology. So this is actually a technology leap, I would say.
So OFDMA was not available in Wi-Fi 5. It is introduced in Wi-Fi 6, and what that allows you to do is allows the Orbi to talk to multiple devices at the same time. Now, think about that in context of Wi-Fi 5, where you could only talk to one device at any given time. So this is one reason why Wi-Fi 6 is faster than the previous generations. The next question would be, okay, great, that addresses the problem from the router perspective, but how about, the device perspective? Well, what is the device coverage for Wi-Fi 6, like on laptops and phones and things like that? There's one very popular model of phone that was released just about 2 months ago that supports Wi-Fi 6. The new iPhone 11, so anything that has an iPhone that has 3 cameras supports Wi-Fi 6, and we know that moving forward, companies are going to start introducing more and more Wi-Fi 6 into the product, and once you go to Wi-Fi 6, you can't go back.
Yes, and I think this revolution of Wi-Fi 6 on the cellular side was started by Samsung last year too. So their latest Galaxy phones, I think it's a S10.
S10, right?
That's and the Note 10, obviously, both of them support Wi-Fi 6. So for devices point of view, I think the major manufacturers already started doing it. I know that quite a few laptop manufacturers. So if you go into your retailer and try to buy a new laptop, you definitely should ask for Wi-Fi 6, because that's the technology that's there to stay for mainstream for the next 6 years or so.
Absolutely. There's one other trend that's driving it. It's people are getting more and more higher speed services from their service provider. It started off, you used to only be able to get like 25 megabits per second.
I've been there.
Yep, we've all been there. And then we moved to maybe 100 megabits per second. And now, for fairly reasonable cost, you can get to a gigabits per second. And these numbers are only going to go higher. So as you're starting to get these higher and higher speeds into your house, don't you want to get these super fast speeds to every corner of your house? And that's really the promise that Wi-Fi 6 and Orbi Wi-Fi 6 addresses.
It is. I mean, it's not only that it's so easy to get those speeds, but it's also very easy to be able to install one of these devices in your house. We should also look at how, even if somebody who doesn't really understand a lot about networking, it's actually very simple to be able to use the Orbi app and be able to get this connected to your modem and then directly install it within a matter of few minutes.
A few minutes, exactly.
So I think this is actually a technology revolution that we are talking about from a Wi-Fi standpoint. So there's a lot of engagement that we are actually seeing from the market. So
absolutely,
we love that. Customers love our NETGEAR products as well.
So let's turn to the back. One of the things that we're quite proud of is the number of ports on the back of this. You'll see there's 5 ports on that, including a 2.5 gigabit WAN port. And you can also pair that WAN port with another port to get even faster speeds. So, and then there's also 4 other LAN ports on the side of it. So in terms of the number of ports compared to the other manufacturers, we definitely realize that you've got tons of wired devices in your house. Things like NAS and desktop computers and Apple TVs and things like that. So you can just plug those directly into it and take advantage of it. Another unique capability is that you can notice that there's a couple of screws in the bottom of this. And this allows you to wall mount your Orbis. So you don't take up desk space in your house. You can just kind of wall mount it against a wall, run power to it, and you're done that way.
Yep, and I also like the LED indicators that come on when you actually want to set it up,
Yeah.
and when the connection is great, it'll let you know. So it's very intuitive, and you know that, okay, when the connection is great and what are things that you need to take care. There's one question from Sevak from Facebook. He asks, where can we buy more Orbi AX satellites?
Now,
You
I
wanna comment on
love that question because it means that he already has a kit already, and he wants to
Thank you, Seva.
buy more of it and distribute it everywhere in more places in his house. So yes, so the availability of satellites is still being pushed out in terms of we're introducing the kits first, and once we get availability, which we've got availability of the kits everywhere, in the next few weeks we'll be publishing these standalone satellites so you can add to your existing capabilities in the next few weeks. So stay engaged. We'll get it out to you right away.
Thank you. I just want to remind the viewers that we have something going on in our NETGEAR store. We have $50 off to buy an Orbi Voice. This is a standalone satellite that you can pair with your existing router or your Orbi system to be able to stream high quality music as well as get your Wi-Fi extended anywhere that you want. So this is a $50 off that's going on right now. And you actually should go to our netgear.com store and then put in the coupon code VOICE to be able to get that offer.
Exactly. Sounds good. Shall we move on to the next product?
Yes, absolutely.
So look at this beauty.
Ooh. So, we talked a little bit about Orbi and Wi-Fi 6, how that's important, right? Now, it's important to consider that when we introduced Orbi 3 years ago, we introduced that Orbi is a technology that is proven to be the best-in-class performance. What we are doing right now is by introducing the Orbi Dual Band, this we call it as a dual band internally, is that we are bringing the Orbi technology not only from the tri-band, but being able to get that same performance for everybody in the spectrum.
Absolutely. So you can see it's a unique design here that kind of sets it apart. You can see it looks kind of like an Orbi, but not really. It's a desktop design. So we're kind of looking in other segments, people who may not necessarily have a vertical space in their house. This might, they might have a shelf that they just want to stick it in. So this opens it up to multiple different angles in terms of fit into your house. And as I mentioned earlier, we want there to be an Orbi for every house and for every different type of customers. And this is yet another direction that we've taken the Orbi line. And this is a fantastic little product that allows you to get the Orbi technology and the Orbi speeds and augment it in a slightly different way.
Yes, so again mentioning about the technology piece of it, right? So Orbi is really known for ensuring that you get the best-in-class performance and coverage throughout your home. So in the case of Orbi Dual Band, which is we are introducing in kits of 2, 3, and 4, which is available on your favorite retailers pretty much everywhere in the US. You can actually, based on your home's size or layout of the house and the speed requirements that you have, you can actually buy one of these kits and be able to get the fastest speeds that you want to get throughout your home. Now, the interesting thing is that this design was uniquely done, especially, the same point that I want to talk about is for spaces that are constrained or you want to really put it on your kitchen table without actually being too much obtrusive to other devices. This is going to be really a good piece which will fit in with the home decor and not being able to take too much of space.
Absolutely. Let's flip it around to show the back of it too.
Yep.
So you can see some vents on the top. This has a unique design on that. It's an interesting design element that we brought onto it. You can see there's a couple of Ethernet ports on the back and a power cable and an LED there to kind of indicate the status of the device. So we've moved a little bit away from that ring LEDs at the top, and now we're moving to a little bit more of a standard LED design in the front. So a little bit of a departure from the normal Orbi design, but I think it's taken it in new and interesting ways. And I love the way that the top sparkles and shines and look at as you look at it in different angles.
Yeah, so my home, I actually don't have a vertical shelf that I can put an Orbi, so I put it next to the TV. But with this one, I can actually put it under the TV, right where my modem is, and that way it's actually next to it, and it looks pretty nice. So I definitely encourage you guys to take a look at it.
And by the way, this is also managed with the same Orbi app that's used to manage all the other Orbi also. So
Yes. That's the other part of it I just want to bring up, which is that Orbi in the past 3 years we've actually gone ahead and introduced some of the new technologies into the Orbi itself. For instance, I'm going to talk about the Circle partnership, the parental control that's available. So that the RBK13 or the dual band Orbi already has this inbuilt. So you can go into the Orbi app and set up a profile for your kids or for whatever things that you want. You can actually have profiles to be able to pause internet at night or you can actually provide rewards for your kids. So you'll be able to control their screen time and also what they're watching. You'll be able to filter the content and things like that pretty easily. With the dual band Orbi, with the partnership of Circle.
So, and the cool thing, this is where I think Circle is a little bit further advanced in some of the other parental controls that are out there. Different kids have different needs and different things that they can watch for durations. So what Circle allows you to do is it allows you to create a profile that's tailored for your kid's age range. So for example, a 6-year-old might be able to watch different things than a 12-year-old, perhaps in terms of just maturity, in terms of duration, in terms of all these capabilities. And with Circle, you can say, okay, I've got a 12-year-old child and he or she can watch this, that, and the other, and they can watch it for an hour. Whereas a younger child, they're restricted to watching less things or going to less websites and for a shorter period duration, which I think is very unique. This isn't just about making sure that kids don't have access to adult websites and things like that. This is a lot more nuanced than that, and I think that really shines through.
Yeah, and I think it's not just the typical URL filtering. It's actually much more advanced than that. So Circle has been a known brand. They have been associated with Disney in the past. I think it's a really interesting thing that we have seen that in the Orbis. People really love this feature, and this is actually a good thing to see what your child is doing and how do you ensure that when you are not around, your kids are safe and they are able to use the internet the way that they should. The other piece of that is security.
Security, right.
Yes.
So security has been a huge deal in the market these days, and really what that means is that with the number of devices in your house, do you really want to go out and manage security and make sure that these devices aren't hacked and people aren't listening in and things like that on all the 50 devices in your house? Or do you want to do it and manage it from a single location? And the cool thing about it is that a router is really the gateway to the internet for the entire house. So rather than addressing antivirus and phishing scams and all these things and all the 50 devices, you can do it on the router itself.
Yeah. Because the router is the central place that's in your house that will be consuming the internet for the entire home. So all the devices that's connecting on Wi-Fi will be connected to the router at some point. So if you can actually protect your router and if you can protect your home through the router, that's be the best thing that you can do with it. So what we have here is what we're talking about is a cybersecurity software called NETGEAR Armor. That's in partnership with NETGEAR and Bitdefender, which is a well-known name in the cybersecurity space. So we have a plan wherein you can actually get it on your router and all the devices for your home. So you talked about antivirus, right? Antivirus generally are for devices that you can actually put in that particular application on it, but it may or may not work for smart home devices. Like, for example, I actually heard about one of my friends who bought a smart plug which had a malicious firmware into it, and then when he introduced this particular thing and he did a vulnerability scan, it actually said that it's vulnerable, and he found out that it's a problem. So those kind of devices may or may not be caught by regular antivirus. But I think,
and you don't know what you don't know, right? So we offer a 30-day trial for Armor with every Orbi purchase, and then from there it becomes a monthly fee that you can purchase for the rest of the year.
Yeah, you can also have the endpoints installed in your Android phones, your iPhones, and all your laptops and Macs and everything else, so that you're protected on the go, not just in your home. So there's unlimited devices that you can install the antivirus protection and then endpoint protection, and then that will help you to secure even if you are in the home or outside.
That's right. So the nuance in here is that you actually can install this Armor software on your laptops, and that provides virus protection on all the laptops and Macs and things like that.
And phones,
and
Androids
all
and
of
iPhones
those
too.
things. So it's from a consumer perspective, I think that's a win-win, right? So not only does it protect all the smart home devices in your house, but even when you take your laptops away to work or some other coffee shop or whatever, you can rest assured that it's safe there too. Let's take a couple of questions here. Scott from YouTube asked the question, can you go over the difference between dual and tri-band? Really good question. Do you want to try that?
Yes, let me take a crack at this and you can add on. So the key difference I would say is that, or the key similarities I would want to start there is that Orbi is more of a technology play. So you have the Orbi, which stands for really great performance for the entire Wi-Fi system. So what we are doing here is that using that same, I would say, cookbook that we have created 3 years ago for Orbi and brought that into a dual band system. So in a nutshell, you will be expecting that this is going to be one of the best in class performance for dual band. So if you compare against some of the leading dual band systems, and with Orbi, we should be able to perform as well as or better than some of the others as well. The other nuance I want to bring in, yes, there is a difference in tri-band versus dual band in the way that it uses the third band radio, wherein a tri-band Orbi is going to use that as a dedicated backhaul connection, whereas in this case, since it's dual band, that dedicated connection is not there. So depending upon how much internet speed or bandwidth that you're subscribing to, you might have an offer, or you might have an option to purchase either a dual band or a tri-band. As you subscribe for higher speeds, you might be able to choose between one or the other.
Right. I mean, from a fundamental question, I think the real difference between a dual and tri-band from a technical perspective is the number of radios that you have on them. So a dual band basically has 2 sets of radios on 2 channels, whereas a tri-band has 3. That's a real, and you want to add the third band in for better performance compared to a dual band, and that's the net of it.
Yep. And the other difference is that the dual band Orbi, or typically all the Orbis, have a router and a satellite concept. So you will not be able to use a router as a satellite or a satellite as a router. I think that's one of the other questions that Absolutely. They have in mind. So this router will have 2 Ethernet ports in them. The satellite will look different. It will not have an Ethernet port, but it will be able to wirelessly connect to the Orbi router and be able to provide the internet speeds.
Scott also asked, is there an easy way to load a bunch of static DHCP entries? Wow, looks like Scott's a power user here. Yeah, I think we're going to have to work a little bit more on automation and migration of DHCP entries, but for now, you're going to unfortunately jump through that step when you migrate from one system to another.
Okay, thanks Scott for being a power user for Orbi. One more question. So Sevak is asking again, will Costco be one of the stores selling the Orbi AX units and dual band?
So I don't think we can...
I wouldn't be able to comment anything on what are the placements, but most of the leading retailers already have these SKUs, so encourage you guys to take a look at it. You could also buy it from our NETGEAR store, which is another option that you can always consider.
So if you go to the NETGEAR store, you can and click on a product. I think there's a way to say which retailer is it sold at, and that opens it up to show you what your local retailers, which of your local retailers are selling each one of those products, and we keep that maintained so you can go ahead and take a look at netgear.com and look for the specific product where you can find it. Sevak also asks, are all the units the same like in a mesh unit regarding dual band? And I also ask, is this a topology? So not quite sure I understand that question, but essentially all the Orbi routers and satellites are able to talk to each other wirelessly. So they can jump from one unit to another unit to a third unit and provide coverage that way. And as Arun mentioned, the routers are a little, for the hardware for the routers are a little bit different than the hardware for the satellites. And part of the reason why we did it this way is because we wanted to give people an option on different types of satellites that they can pair with their router. Most other manufacturers basically have only one or two different types of satellites. Us, on the other hand, we've got a wide variety of different satellites that you can use to pair with your router. For example, let's say that you've got a barn, a swimming pool area, a detached garage, anything along those lines where mother-in-law quarters where you want to have a little bit extra coverage in a completely different part of your property, and you need it to be weather resistant. For that situation, we've introduced this product about a couple of years ago. Now, you'll notice that this product looks quite a bit different than everything else, and the main reason why it looks so different is because it's weather resistant. There are no holes on this thing for water to get through. So it will be okay in a torrential downpour. It'll be okay in North Dakota. It'll be okay in Arizona in terms of temperature variation.
Yeah.
All you have to do is that so this particular unit comes, we've kind of mounted it onto a stand, but the same mounting mechanism, you can use it to mount it to a wall, a post, anything along those lines. So and it's got a little bit longer cord, so you can install it about 6 or 7 feet up in the air and still get good coverage out there. All you have to do is plug it in, and it wirelessly connects back to the router. The cool thing that we introduced earlier this year is the ability for this Orbi satellite to work with any router, not just an Orbi router. So would you like to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So this is definitely, Amit mentioned that this is the Orbi Outdoor satellite, which we introduced a couple of years ago. And what we have added on top of that is the option to be able to work universally with any router. So what that means is that you can actually pair this device with your existing router, be it an Orbi or be it the Nighthawk product line which we have, or be it any third-party router. The way that you do is that you can actually, when you're trying to pair it with it, you can actually do a change while the booting up happens. And once you do that, it will be able to connect to the router that you already have. So if you have an Orbi with you, great, it'll be working with an Orbi the same way that you expect an Orbi satellite to do. But if you don't have an Orbi, don't despair. You can still solve your problem to be able to get better internet and have your mother-in-law stay there, not come into your house and trouble you. So, no offense.
I hope your mother-in-law isn't listening. So if you take a look at the back, you'll see that there's a weatherized seal over here. So even if it does rain, the water won't get between the power plug and the product and electrocute it. You'll notice that there's a whole bunch of heat sinks on the back that not just provide structural rigidity, but it dissipates the heat in that way. As I mentioned, this works in minus 20 degrees Celsius, so even if it's snowing and raining and all that bad stuff that we don't get here in California, this unit will boot up, and it'll take a little bit extra time to boot up as it warms up, but then it'll start functioning and it'll start providing Wi-Fi. And we've designed it in such a way that this also works in up to 50 degrees Celsius, so really hot temperatures. You'll also notice that there's illumination on the top and the bottom. This is not just illumination to provide network status, it provides ambient lighting.
Yes, and this is also a tri-band device, so you have a 4x4 backhaul, which is pretty powerful to be able to connect to your existing Orbi system, and also have 2 bands to be able to provide the front haul. So from a speed perspective, this will be providing AC 3000.
AC 3000.
Yes, combined speed, so it'll be as fast as your existing Orbi satellite and be able to provide coverage outdoors or into your pool, yes, in the back end.
Shall we move on to the next product here? This product we announced about a year ago, and I'll get to the what's new part about it in a few minutes. But just to give you a little bit of background on what it is and what it does, this here is an Orbi satellite that has an integrated, a built-in Alexa into it. And so you'll notice that most people have these Echo devices all over their house. Well, turns out that we realized that a lot of people put their Echo devices pretty close to where they put their Orbi satellites. So why not put them together? So that's exactly what we did last year. We were the first company out there to have an integrated voice assistant into a networking device. Someone else did that a little bit later, but we got there first, and I think we did it better. There's 4 mics on the top. There's a couple of speakers here, and this product is certified by Harman Kardon, so you know the audio is going to be fantastic. There's a tweeter, a 5-watt tweeter on the top, and a 25-watt woofer in the bottom, and we did this in order to give you a much better audio experience with the product.
Yes, I think the biggest interesting fact about this is why is it so big is because you need to be able to provide quality music and quality audio for this music that you really want to listen. If it's in your kitchen, on the countertop, or if it's in your living room where you actually have your friends entertain, you can directly say, Alexa, play me some music, and then it'll be able to provide you. And then that should sound really amazing. And that's why we have actually taken a lot of pain to be able to integrate really quality sound and also get the same kind of Orbi extension wherein you can actually get the better Wi-Fi as well.
So, and really the thought process behind this product was, let's say you've got a kitchen area where you want to while you're washing your dishes, you want to turn on the lights or change the temperature. And that's, if you're spending a lot of time in your kitchen, then you probably need great Wi-Fi there anyway. And this allows you to hands-free control your smart home device. So it goes in with the ambience in the kitchen. I have got one in my bedroom. So they use it as an alarm clock. I use it, for music when I'm in my bedroom. I also have one in my kitchen area for exactly the same reasons.
How do you control the volume on this one?
So there's it's not plugged in, otherwise I would have showed you, but there's a touch-sensitive volume control on the top. So as your hand gets close to it, it detects that, and it allows you to slide the bar to the left and the right to get your volume control in. Good question.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And you can also mute on the top. So there are buttons on the top. You cannot really see it without powering it, but once it's powered, you will see that there's a mute button option available, and if you move your hand over, it actually lights up, and then you can ask Alexa questions or be able to change and adjust the volume.
Another piece of point on the hardware, if you flip it around, I'm not sure you can see this, but there's 2 Ethernet ports on that. So we can use this for a wired backhaul or for you to plug in your smart home devices directly into this, just like most other Orbi satellite.
Yep, I think in a lot of homes I keep seeing, so we went to one of the places when we were trying to engage with the customer. We saw that they had the router in the garage and the satellite was actually placed in the living room next to their entertainment center. So they had to wire all the devices to the satellite, and since in that case it was a RBS 50 that had 4 ports and they could connect all the devices. So in this case, this is also beneficial that you have 2 ports so you can connect multiple devices. So that's actually a big benefit for having this kind of satellite.
Absolutely.
Should we talk about the new feature that's...
Yes, I was about to say, why don't you, let's talk about what's new with it.
So just like with the case of the outdoor Orbi, we have also introduced a universal capability for this device. So what the satellite can do is be able to work with your existing Orbi system, which you really love, or if you have your Nighthawks and your other routers that you bought from third party, or you have your ISP devices, this can directly pair onto it and still get the extension. So it'll be behaving more like a mesh extender. So you get to keep that same Wi-Fi network name as you have for your existing network and continue to extend Wi-Fi. Not only that, you can still use the Alexa built-in to be able to play great music. So it's actually a uniquely placed product that can function as an extender, a mesh extender, which can help you to get the same kind of mesh features and also be able to get really great audio.
So Arun, why would someone want to get a mesh extender? What are some of the use cases or situations where a mesh extender would be a perfect?
That's a good question. So imagine that I can think of at least two use cases. So one of them is before I joined NETGEAR, I did have a Nighthawk router with me, and that is pretty new. That it's only like a couple of years old. It is good enough for the apartment that I was initially living in, but then I moved to a new home. The router is pretty good. I am able to get good speed with it. So I didn't want to really replace that router. I still want to keep that router. But however, the router is connected to the modem, which is actually in the corner of the house.
And you don't want the main device to be in the corner of the house, because at that point your coverage is outside, or half the coverage is outside the house. You want coverage in
so that's
your
what
house.
happened. So our bedroom started having connection dropouts, and we couldn't play Netflix streaming really well. So what we had to do was actually get an extender. So until recently, when we introduced the mesh extenders in the Nighthawk Mesh product line, we didn't really have a way by which you could actually get the same SSID passed on to the extended network. So you'll have to switch back and forth between the networks. And not only that, you will actually have a reduction in speed, because you have to talk to the router and talk to the device, which you cannot do at the same time. So obviously there is a halving of bandwidth and also switching network names that happens. Mesh extenders actually help to solve that problem by being able to share that same SSID and password onto the extended network. So your device will automatically go from the router to the extender and back.
Perfect.
When you are having this is crucial when you have a conference call. You take your Skype call or you have your Netflix streaming. It's like you go from downstairs to upstairs. Your kid is calling you. It's like, "Mama, come here, Dad, come here." Those are real use cases we actually have to deal with.
Another situation where you might want to get an extender is if you just can't get rid of your service provider box, for example. Yeah, and there are situations where people either don't want to or just can't get rid of
triple play, for instance.
Right.
You really need to keep that phone line. You cannot replace that box, but the Wi-Fi really is not great.
Right, exactly. So this allows you to get your Wi-Fi coverage and your speeds without having to replace that. So let's take a couple of questions. So Sevak from Facebook also asked another question. Will the Orbi Outdoor get an AX upgrade? Good question. Can't quite talk about that quite right yet, but the thought has occurred to me.
And Sevak, thank you so much for all the questions that you're putting through. I mean, this is great. So we'll have to answer all the questions that our customers have.
He asked another question. For the outdoor Orbi, does the power cord have to be plugged into a dry area? And really, the way that would work is that you've got some sort of a insulated or covered wall plug or electrical plug. You plug the prong from the power cord from the Orbi Outdoor into that, and from then on, it's weatherproof all the way down to the device. So
the cord is weatherproof?
The cord is weatherproof. The only exposure is the two prongs, but as long as you cover the area where the prongs go into the electrical socket, you should be absolutely fine.
And Sevak again asks, why doesn't Orbi Voice support HomeKit?
Siri. So that is something we're also looking at. We can't really talk too much about future products or things like that in this forum, but that is also something that we've been looking very strongly at, and I'll kind of leave it at that. Thank you for being engaged, Sevak.
So there's another question from Scott on YouTube. Can you use a wired backhaul with the new dual band? And the answer is no, because the satellites don't have an Ethernet port, so you wouldn't be able to connect your satellite to the router. However, the router has two Ethernet ports, so one for the WAN and one for the LAN. So you can connect a switch onto it, or you can connect your entertainment center onto it and be able to use the LAN port on the router to be able to consume wired devices. So
you could also theoretically use the dual band router and plug that into one of the other Orbi satellites and use Ethernet backhaul that way, however.
Yes, that's another way that you can use. But one of the reasons why we don't really need an Ethernet port, or we think an Ethernet port is not necessary, is because the performance on the dual band Orbi should be good enough to be able to provide the coverage that you need for all the devices in the home. A 2-pack can cover up to 3,000 square feet, and a 3-pack can cover up to 4,500 square feet, and it can easily get 50 to 100 megabits of internet speed everywhere that you want. So we think that our customers majority use Wi-Fi for their predominant needs, and that's the reason why the router has an additional port where you can connect your smart TV or your devices in there.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, Scott, for those questions. Keep them coming.
So at this point, let me kind of remind you one more time. So there is a promotion that's going on for $50 off of this beautiful product, available on netgear.com. It's going for about $150 right now, which is a $50 discount from its usual MSRP. It's heavy because its speakers are good. So let's take a step back and say, okay, we've gone over a whole bunch of products here. The question comes up, which Orbi is right for me? And yes, so we do have a lot of products. We've been working hard here to provide great products for our customers. So I think the key question that you kind of have to answer is, number one, how big of a coverage area you have. Number two, how many devices you have. And number three, what kind of speeds do you want or aspire to be? If you want to be leaning into the future and make sure that you're set for the next 5 or 6 years, and as you bring new Apple iPhones into your environment, new Samsung Galaxy S10s, there's a bunch of laptops coming. If you want to be future-proof for that, then the Orbi WiFi 6, the RBK852, if you will, is that product, because it's one of the first mesh Wi-Fi plus Wi-Fi 6 products out there, and you can buy it available right now on your favorite retailer. If you kind of want to say, I want to kind of stick with a Wi-Fi 5 product line, then there's the RBK50 or there's the RBK50V, which comes with the Orbi Voice built in. Then that would be one of the other products that's out there. And you can see one of those products back there over our shoulders.
Yes, and also I want to add the cable Orbi into the mix.
Yes.
So what is a cable Orbi? It's actually bringing in the modem and the router together into one single unit. So thereby you can actually get rid of your existing modem. Not really get rid of, you can remove your existing modem and not pay your service provider up to $156 that you pay every month. Every year, I'm sorry. $13 every month.
Yeah.
So rather than paying them that money, you can actually own a cable modem as well as a router and be able to get fast internet speeds.
So let's say you're moving to a whole different new house at a completely different area. And so you don't want to, you're starting from a completely brand new networking environment. So rather than going out and renting a cable modem or buying a cable modem and then buying a mesh kit, you can buy the cable modem kit, which one package, you go install it with an app, you go and you're done, and you're minimizing the number of devices in your house. So,
and then obviously you have the RBK13, which is newly introduced for the dual band segment. So that's also pretty competitive in terms of how you want to solve that problem for somebody who has a 50 megabits connection or 100 megabits connection, and they still want to get it for a pretty good square footage, like 3,000 to 4,000 square feet. This would be one of the things that they can definitely consider.
Absolutely. And then the last sort of other product that we have out there is we talked about the Outdoor Orbi, which doesn't actually come in a kit. It comes in as an add-on, but it's as an add-on that works with not just any of the Orbis that we've kind of mentioned before, but it works with any other router that's out there to provide weather-resistant coverage in whatever outdoor area that you want to cover. And the cool thing about that is that you can daisy chain a couple of these together, so to get even more coverage. So you don't have to have line of sight between your router and your outdoor Orbi.
That's correct.
Cool. Any other questions? Please feel free to put them out there. I see a bunch sort of that are coming in. Again, we can't talk about future products here. Our lawyers would not be happy with us if we did that. But please keep your questions coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is actually a great opportunity to connect with our customers and understand what are the things that is important for them. So thank you so much for all your questions. Keep them coming. Thank you so much for listening to us. We talked about quite a few interesting products that's coming this year. So really excited about how the holiday is going to turn up.
Yes.
So looking forward to a wonderful holiday season. Keep shopping. Thank you so much. And please follow us on NETGEAR's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter feeds. And thank you so much.
Thank you.